The first time I heard Amora cry like that, it didn't sound like a normal cry. It sounded broken, like she was scared and alone even though the house was full of people. That was when I knew something terrible was happening. It started when my sister Esther asked her brother-in-law, Uncle Jonah, to live with us. Esther's husband had died suddenly, and she was struggling to make ends meet. Jonah seemed like the perfect solution, a helping hand around the house and someone to watch over her 6-year-old daughter, Amora, while she worked long hours. At first, everything seemed fine. Uncle Jonah was friendly and funny. He brought snacks for Amora and helped her with homework. He's good with kids, Esther would say with a smile. We all believed it. But then Amora started acting different. Amora had always been a happy child. She loved singing, drawing, and playing outside. But a few weeks after Jonah moved in, she stopped being herself. She wouldn't smile as much, and she avoided him when no one else was around. One night, I found her sitting on the floor of her room, staring at the wall. I asked her what was wrong. She didn't say anything, she just shook her head and crawled under her blanket. I told Esther, but she brushed it off. She's probably just tired, she said. Or maybe school is stressing her. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. It was late. The house was quiet, and I was about to go to bed when I heard it, a soft, muffled cry. It was coming from Amora's room. I got up and walked down the hallway. The closer I got, the louder it became. Her cries weren't just sad, they were scared. I opened the door and found her curled up on her bed, shaking. Amora, what's wrong? I asked, my heart racing. She just looked at me, her face wet with tears. Nothing, she whispered, but her voice was trembling. That night, I couldn't sleep. The next day, I started paying more attention to Jonah. At first, there was nothing unusual. He acted the same as always, helpful, friendly, and full of jokes. But I noticed the way he'd watch Amora when he thought no one was looking. His eyes would linger too long, and he always found excuses to be near her. One afternoon, I walked into the living room and saw him sitting with Amora. She looked stiff like she didn't want to be there. When he saw me, he quickly stood up and left the room, smiling awkwardly. I asked Amora if everything was okay. She just nodded and stared at the floor. Over the next few days, I noticed more. Amora started having nightmares almost every night. She would wake up crying, and when I tried to comfort her, she would cling to me like she was scared to let go. She also started avoiding certain parts of the house, especially the living room where Jonah liked to sit. One day, I asked her directly, Amora, is someone hurting you? Her eyes filled with tears, and she whispered, please don't tell Mama. My heart sank. I hugged her tightly and promised, I'll keep you safe. That night, I stayed up late, pretending to sleep in the living room. I wanted to see what Jonah was up to. Around midnight, I heard him walking down the hall toward Amora's room. I got up quietly and followed him. He stopped at her door and slowly opened it. That's when I turned on the light. What are you doing? I asked, my voice shaking with anger. He froze, stammering. I was just checking on her. You have no business in her room at this time of night, I snapped. He tried to laugh it off, but I could see the guilt in his eyes. The next day, I told Esther everything. At first, she didn't believe me. Jonah would never hurt Amora, she said, shaking her head. I started asking questions, neighbors, friends, even people from his old village. What I found made my blood run cold. There were rumors about Jonah, whispers about how he acted around children. No one ever reported anything, but everyone seemed to know. When I told Esther what I'd found, she broke down in tears. What do we do? She asked. We decided to watch him closely and gather proof. I set up a small camera in the hallway near Amora's room, and we made sure she was never alone with him. A week later, the camera caught him trying to enter her room again. This time, we had evidence. We confronted Jonah together, showing him the footage. He tried to deny it, but the proof was undeniable. He begged for forgiveness, but we didn't listen. We called the police and made sure he was removed from our home. Amora is still healing from what happened. She goes to therapy now, and we've made changes to ensure she feels safe. I learned a hard lesson: never ignore the signs. Pay attention to your kids. Listen to their fears, even when they can't put them into words. If you're a parent or guardian, please keep an eye on your children. Evil doesn't always come from strangers, it can come from people you think you can trust. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video and comment on what you learned from the tale, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more enchanting tales just like this one. Thank you.